It's Sunday, so I figured I should go through Sophia Isus again and talk a little bit about some of Origen's writings. And so I started reading from the beginning, which, like the other one, I never read from the beginning. I never really liked the beginning. This one, it made me think a little bit. He first says that all wisdom is from the Lord, and with him it exists forever. Sand of the sea and drops of rain and days of eternity, who shall enumerate? The sky heights and earth's breadths and abyss, and wisdom, who will track it? Before all things, wisdom has been created, and understanding of prudence is from eternity. I'm not going to keep reading this, but do I think all wisdom is from like Isus, from my clones on Earth? I think that you probably don't have very much wisdom that you find outside of things that like my clones and I and my community has discovered. So generally, yes, I actually do believe that all wisdom is from my clones. But he pretty quickly starts going into fear of the Lord, where he says, fear of the Lord is reputation and boasting and gladness and a garland of rejoicing. Fear of the Lord will delight the heart, and it will give gladness and joy and length of days. Fear of the Lord is a gift from the Lord, for he also establishes passive love. For the one who fears the Lord, it will be well at the end, and in the day of his death, he will be blessed. Wisdom's beginning is to fear the Lord. So he continues on with this is wisdom's fullness is fear of the Lord. Wisdom garland is fear of the Lord. Wisdom's root, like the basis for all wisdom, is fear of the Lord. And like if you think about that, we're in a situation now where no one really fears me, right? Like no one fears like my clones. No one fears my family. Like, I mean, I know there are people out there that do, but like the powers that be do not fear my people. Do I fear my people? Oh, you have no idea. Are you kidding me? Right now, do I fear them? Like, even though like I've become the one who's so powerful. Like, I mean, theoretically, like if like suddenly I break through, I'm so rich. Like I'm gonna be like this incredibly powerful, rich ruler. Like people follow me. Like I lead armies. And do I think that like I still fear my clones and my twins and all that stuff? I'll never not fear them. Like, because I'm wise. I'm fully aware of how scary Amun is. Like, Amun is the guy that built the Great Apostle Hall. Like, Amun is the guy that, like, is so wise in the creation of the Arabic language and of the English language that, like, I'm constantly... So, Isus starts off pretty not for me. Like, oh, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of that God. Fear of like Yahweh, like the bullshit religion, like the one that's like absolutely silly, like the one that's like impossible. That's the beginning. That guy's unreasonable. That guy like thinks that like I am screwed because like I don't believe in this crap. Like that guy doesn't care how good I am. That guy doesn't care about how compassionate I am. That guy doesn't care if I only have just anger. Which unjust anger, if we were to translate it into the Bible, would be unrighteous anger. But unjust anger actually makes sense. Like, when you're angry, you should be justified in your anger. Because people should see your anger and go, that makes sense. But if you're a person who's angry about some crap, if you're a person that's angry because you put your cup on my bunk, because you're a bottom bunk guy with no one on the top bunk, and you're the only person with a top bunk available, where anyone can put down their stuff at all. And then you're the jerk in jail who doesn't let you put your cup on their bunk, and you freak out. That's called unjust anger. That's an asshole. But like, if you're a person that gets angry over the right thing, because they're cloning Shauna Ray and training her twins to be prostitutes, because these people are like ruining geniuses' lives when they could be doing things that are productive, because these people are selling sex slaves. Like, that's a pretty good freaking reason to be angry. Because we don't have a legal system, because we don't have a constitution. That's a pretty good reason to be angry. Like, you can be justified in that anger because you believe that you live in a free place, but we don't have free elections. Yes, I can be angry over that. People respect it. But if you're a person with unjust anger, it's a problem. And so, like, the way you interact with society, the way that society sees you can be a problem for you. And wisdom is knowing that your interactions with society can hurt you. And so, like, when he says, do not be a hypocrite in the mouths of humankind, and with your lips pay heed, do not exalt yourself lest you fall. Like, he's saying, like, be someone that people respect. And I think that, like, I try to be someone that people respect. Like, I've had a lot of trouble with it because I've got this neural interface in my head trying to get me to say things that are against me. They try to manipulate me for like 45 minutes, and they can convince me of something for like 45 minutes, and then they get me to say it. And over time, I've learned don't say it, but then I also can't help but say it because I got to the point where I need to show people what these people are saying in my head. Because wisdom is like making sure the community understands. Wisdom is recognizing that, like, we are part of a community, and that, like, when you're part of the community, being a good member of that community is wise. So if you're in a community and you have just anger, that's okay. Like, there's a time when, like, there is nothing better that a person who's never angry can do but be angry. Because, like, people see it. They're like, that guy's never angry ever. That guy's the most calm person. He's as, like, what did it say? Like, he's, like, what did Ali say about, like, he's impenetrable. Like, you can't, like, make this guy waver emotionally. Like, he's a calm guy. But then suddenly he's angry. People will listen to that anger. But if you're a person who's always angry, if you're the person who always yells at their kid always, and the way you talk to your child is in a yelling form, that is not a wise person. That kid will never know the difference between, like, actually bad and like really bad. I mean, maybe he can figure it out from someone else. He's not going to figure it out from you. But he's going to learn that, like, the way that he should interact with his kids is through yelling. And I think the way you should interact with your kids is through talking. It's through conversations. It's the person who has just anger but stays calm. Down here he talks about, like, he talks about gentleness. He says, "Child, in gentleness conduct your affairs, and you will be loved more than a person who gives." I don't know. But he's saying, like, you need to be gentle in the way you conduct your affairs, because you can be angry. You can be, I'm calm, and you're still gentle. I'm being gentle. Here. I know you destroyed my stuff, kid. But I know that things get destroyed. I'm not going to freak out on my child. And so, like, that's a person that people listen to. Like, I always have to figure out how to, like, talk to people when I'm angry. Like, I always have to figure out how to, like, not come off the wrong way, because they won't listen to me. I need to, like, actually be productive in my anger. Like, I need to convince them to do something for me. So if I yell at them, I might convince them, but, like, in reality, like, that might hurt my relationship too. And it might, like, hold me back from being successful. I'm going through the beginning of Sophia Izus pretty fast, so I'm going to go on to chapter 4, and he says, "Watch for an opportune time and beware of evil, and about your soul do not be ashamed, for there is a shame that brings on sin, and there is a shame that is glory and favor. Do not receive a person against your soul, and do not feel embarrassment to your fault. Do not hinder speech in a time of need, and do not hide your wisdom in comeliness or prettiness, like with pretty words. For by speech and wisdom to be known, and education through a word of tongue. Do not speak against the truth." I didn't, normally comeliness is like having a really nice face, I think. Well, that's your disposition. It's attractiveness. So I think that he's saying, like, don't use foofy words, just say it, is what I would be saying. But he's also talking about shame, and, like, he's talking about shame a lot. And I think that, like, when a person is ashamed, a lot of the time they won't act. They won't say something. They're ashamed of the situation, so they'll avoid it. They're afraid to have a conversation with you because they're ashamed. And I think that, like, what Origen is saying here is that, like, you need to be aware. He's not Origen, that's Izus, which he might be a clone of Origen, but he's definitely not Origen. What he's saying here is, like, that, like, you need to be aware that, like, your shame can cause you to have bad interactions with society, that it can cause harm. Like, and you need to figure out how to deal with your shame. Like, you shouldn't hide it. Like, you need to accept it. And he goes on, like, to talk about what Origen actually talks about. Like, I'm about to show you a section from Origen where he talks about, like, how to deal with your shame and how he sees it, which is he thinks that you should confess. And Origen, like, is probably the origin of confession in the Catholic Church, where, like, they go to a priest and say, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." And they say, like, I have lusted in my heart for a girl that was in the library with me, and this didn't actually happen, but, like, I stared at her booty for a total of 15 minutes, and I looked at my watch, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was staring at her butt for 15 minutes. Like, that's not a real confession, but that's something that someone would want to confess. I personally wouldn't confess that. Like, you need to confess when, like, your sins, like, affect the community especially, or, like, if you need someone to help you, like, help you stop your sin. Like, I told my probation officer this week, I was like, you should make me develop a full stack website, or make me develop a website just make me do it. I need to just do it. And then I ended up telling her, no, don't make me do it. I realized it. I don't have internet. Like, I can't get on the API. Like, I can't actually know how to build a website. Like, I realize I can't. So Jesus thinks that wisdom is dealing with your shame in a community. Like, it's not being so ashamed that, like, you ruin the whole community. Like, someone could be ashamed that they fell asleep on guard while they're guarding, like, a town or something, and they saw that, like, there was an army that passed by, and they're so ashamed that they don't tell the leaders we're about to get attacked. Like, that's a pretty good example. And, like, someone can be so ashamed of a situation that, like, they're afraid of getting in trouble, and they could not speak up, and it puts everyone in danger. And I think that, like, a lot of time, like, shame is about, like, preventing yourself from doing something. Like, you might need to sit down with your wife or your partner and confess. Like, I don't think you need to go to the bishop necessarily, but, like, maybe, like, if you're a coke addict, you need to go sit down with your wife and say, what happened is, like, I went out with so-and-so and, like, he had some cocaine and I did it. And she might tell you can't go out with him anymore. And, like, she might get mad at you, but, like, you need to bring that shame to her. And so, like, what Origen's talking about is bringing shame to the bishops, and, like, bringing your shame to them and confessing and all that stuff. And, like, I tend to agree with that. But I also think, like, you got to be wise about it. Like, am I going to go to some random priest and confess? No, of course not. Do I have anything to confess? I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure I could figure out something, but I don't really do anything. Like, ever. for like a lot of years. Like, I'd have to go back. Well, back when I was 8 years old, I did this. Because I don't really do anything anymore. But, like, some people probably have a little more shame than other people. And they need to confess. But, like, you need to confess in a way that, like, helps you. And, like, I think that for Origen, like, if you're part of a community, if you're part of a church, if you're part of a ummah, then, like, and you're, like, really part of that church, it might help you that much to confess. Like, I've been drinking and taking Vicodin. You've been taking, like, you're mixing pills and drinking? Yeah, like, I'm feeling like I'm addicted. Like, I noticed that I've been driving to the liquor store every day. Well, what are you going to do about it? Like, are you driving your kids? Like, I mean, that's one of those things where you might actually, like, need to bring your fear of sin into your community for help. And that's what the community is for. That's what the ummah is for. That's what the church is for. It's for helping each other. It's not for bringing each other down. So it's not for increasing that shame, which, like, do I think the church tends to increase shame a lot? I think we got some shame mongers out there. I mean, we got the judgers out there. They're the ones with the gavel. It's not Jesus. They're the ones that are deciding what's right and wrong that much. And, like, I'm going to go back to the beginning teaching, which is this idea that it's important to fear Jesus. It's important to fear the name above all names. Like, it's one of the 10 commandments. Like, do not take the Lord your God's name in vain. And the Christians believe that the name above all names is Jesus. They just don't know what it is. They think it's Yahweh. No, if you actually talk to to a real rabbi, then what he'll tell you is that it's actually it's like the wind. You can't say it. It's like it takes me 8 seconds to utter it. Like, and so like, no, it's actually Yeshua. Like, no, what we found is it's Hosea or Jesus, and no one knows either. And like, I think that when you have no fear of the Lord, you're not afraid to take that name in vain. I noticed it, like Caleb, and like I was flipping through the radio. They're not afraid of taking the Lord's name in vain even right now. Like they don't think it's a problem. Like you will never believe how much this pastor will use the word Jesus. You start listening to this pastor, you start thinking maybe this guy's a good pastor, and then he starts going Jesus, Jesus, and you're like, oh wait, that's why he starts spewing nonsense. And I think that like when you have no fear of the Lord, you're definitely not afraid of the name. And like I'm not saying that like I don't even know if Caleb or like any of those people know who I am, but I know that like Origin's pretty clear. Like the Antichrist is like the people who do not fear the name of Jesus, the name above all names, and they're people that will like. Or wait, no, they are the people that fear it. That's literally what he says. He says those are the people that are afraid of that name. They're the people that when they hear the name above all names, it's Jesus. It's easier. And it's pretty clear that like the people who change the name and the people that are the descendants of the people who change the name are the people that are afraid of the name when you speak about it in public. Like they need to shut down teachings related to the name above all names. And we all have to ask ourselves, why? And it's because there's like an organized conspiracy of people that are not Christians. They're fake Christians. They're acting like they're Christians. They want to lead the Christian church. They want to lead you against what your belief is, which is in the Bible. They want you to be against yourself. They want you to be against your own survival. And like, if you're a threat to my survival, a wise person tries to make sure they survive. And so, I don't know who's like, my opinion is that there's a group of people that want to kill us with a biological weapon, and they want to kill everyone that's not like them. And those are the people that fear the name.